I haven't heard a lot of talk around Mataiodoxía, the new Warlock exotic we got in the final shape, which buffs our arcane needles, giving them anti-barrier and the ability to create suspending bursts on final blows or on rapid hits. So, I made a build around it, focusing on our arcane needles, of course, while also giving us the ability to gain a bunch of benefits from suspending targets. And we're making a ton of threadlings in this build, just like any Broodweaver build. But since we got our little green strand worm boys, I feel like this is a good moment to talk about the brand new Advancedgg flavor, a sour gummy worm. Thank you, Advancedgg. You can always use my code Spycer10 for 10% off. Thank you, Advancedgg, for giving me money. For this build, we're going to be using the Shackle Grenade paired with Weaver's Call and Weave Walk. We're going to make a ton of threadlings using Weaver's Call on our class ability. Then Weave Walk will help us get out of any sticky situations we might be in. And because Mataiodoxía gives us melee energy for every suspended enemy we defeat, Shackle Grenades will help us get melee energy, which will help us use Weave Walk, while also being able to use Arcane Needles to destroy barrier champions and suspend targets. Moving on to our fragments, we're using Thread of Mind, so defeating suspended targets will also give us class ability energy, so we can cast more healing rifts to help us stay alive longer, make more threadlings, deal more damage. Thread of Generation, get grenade energy just from dealing damage to targets. More shackle grenades, more melee energy. It's all cyclical here. Then Thread of Continuity to keep things suspended and unraveled and severed longer. Then throw on Thread of Warding, just give us Woven Mail for a little bit more survivability, and that'll help round out this part of the build. The two weapons I suggest using the most are the Call. It's just a great special weapon, especially right now. It has Unstoppable on it, which, you can suspend very easily, so you'll have it off cooldown most of the time, but having the Call as a backup is a great option. You can roll Slice and Vorpal on it to take care of larger enemies, make them do less damage to help save you and your teammates more often. It's just great utility. It could be great damage. It's whatever you want it to be. The Call is one of the best weapons in the game. Then throw on Whisper of the Worm. It's really good this episode with the new artifact mods from episode 1, Act 2. Solar snipers are crazy, especially Whisper of the Worm. Then throw on a hand cannon, because that way you can get all of your weapons having their own anti-barrier capabilities. If you have Posterity, I highly suggest that. The one I was using in this video is Wellspring Pugilist, which will give you a ton of melee energy. Dealing damage with Posterity will give you all ability energy. Pugilist, Final Blows will give you a ton of melee energy. Wellspring will give you a ton of energy and all your abilities on kill. So, I know it's a 180 hand cannon. A lot of people don't like them. But trust me, that will help. Maybe swap out Wellspring for, Volt Shot if you'd prefer, which completely understandable if you want to do that. It's up to you there. Thread of Warding comes back in our artifact mod options. Shield Crush will give us melee energy just for having Woven Mail up, which will massively help. But you should also probably grab Threaded Blast, because, you make a tangle, you swap over to the Call, shoot it with the Call, it'll break in one shot super quick, and it has more radius, and it does more damage. It's really good. Threaded Blast is a really good artifact perk. Then maybe an Elemental Siphon, but really you're going to look for Incendiary Rifle rounds, Solar Fulmination, and Sniper's Meditation to really buff up Whisper of the Worm. And then I guess, of course, Counter Energy is really good in this build because you're going to be stunning champions quite a bit. Armor mod wise, it's just, the classics. The salt, the pepper of armor mods. Heavy Handed, one of the best in the game. I throw on Font of Vigor because I don't have 100 strength, So it's just kind of an easy include. Siphon-wise, Strand Siphon, Arc Siphon, quick, easy things like that. Chest piece, just throw on some good resistances for whatever activity you're running. Your boots, invigoration, recuperation. Recuperation is going to keep you alive. Invigoration, again, more melee energy. Throw more melee, suspend more targets, get more melee energy. Then, our class item, proximity ward, Reaper, then maybe like a time dilation if you want, or maybe a font of restoration if you don't have 100 recovery. Outreach would be good. Outreach would be really good. Maybe distribution. It's just kind of up to you there. There's a ton of stuff and flexibility there. I do want to put this small addendum or whatever here because I know not everyone has posterity. I know not everyone is going to raid. I do have a Discord server, and I do want to get LFGs running. But, that again, raid's not for everyone. So, some suggestions for other hand cannons you could use in the place of posterity is tough because there's not a lot of hand cannons that roll like posterity does. Luna's House stands out. The origin trait on the Brave Arsenal weapons will give you melee energy if you're using a Darkness subclass. Thankfully, we are on Broodweaver. Prismatic goes off super, so if we were running Needle Storm, which is not as good as Nova Bomb, it would be a different story. But we're on Broodweaver, so it gives you melee energy back. Honestly, other than that, it's lacking in ability generation perks, and honestly, most hand cannons are. There's a few in the kinetic slot that do give you some energy per kill or whatever, and you might consider those currently the Solstice hand cannon, something new. Stasis 120. If you're into that, if you like that, it does have Wellspring Demo as a role, which not my favorite for this build, but I do have builds where I really like something new. Whether I'm running a Headstone Wellspring roll or if I'm running Wellspring Demo, it kind of fucks, to be honest. So that might be something you think about. Posterity is kind of a one-of-a-kind weapon. It's in an archetype a lot of people don't like, but it has some crazy rolls on it. So if you can get past it being a 180, and if you like to raid, and if you love Deep Zone Crypt, which if you haven't raided, I highly suggest if you ever do decide to raid, do Deep Zone. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite raid. I love Deep Zone. But yeah, I just figured I would put this in here because I know not everyone's going to go for a posterity roll. Honestly, this build is pretty simple. Everything feeds into itself, and it's kind of nice not having a super complicated build with 50 moving parts. It is just everything funnels into your grenade and your melee, which funnels into your class ability. That's all it is. It's super easy, super simple. I really like it. I have a lot of fun with it. I'm not saying it's a GM front runner. I mean, you got Solar Warlock and Prismatic Warlock, and even to an extent Stasis Warlock, I would say, might have builds, or definitely do have builds that edge this out. So that's something to think about. But, if you're just having fun in a mid-tier GM or you're raiding, this might be worth kicking around, having some fun with. But yeah, GM level, probably not going to play around with this build. So anyways, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Maybe even join if you're crazy. Also, check out Advancedgg. They don't pay me for nothing. It is good stuff. I've been using it for years. Sour Gummy Worm out today. So yeah, go check them out. Thank you, Advancedgg, for sponsoring me. And yeah, check out my Discord server, pinned link down below with all my socials. And I'll see you next time.